We're recording now. Hi. So, do you mind telling us the story of how your last name has five or six different spellings?
Of course. Um, our family name has six different spellings to our name. The main spelling is Searles. That's how it's pronounced, Searles, Surles. Also, the other five spellings to that name is Serls, Surls, Sirls, Serd, and Sers. I think that's six, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, little background history. As with a lot of African Americans, we received our last name from our slave owners. Our ancestors did, not me. Um, so a lot of times when they bought African Americans, they tend to give them their last name. Some of them, of course, as African Americans, women were raped by their slave masters. So they also took on those names as well, based on that. Uh, Now, I've been told the stories of how all six names came into play when siblings moved to different parts of the country. Some of them weren't as knowledgeable, literate as others, and they start spelling it different, which I assume that's how a lot of the names came about. Now, what's interesting in my particular family, my dad and his siblings all spelled their last names differently. They're all Searles, have the same mother, and they spell their name differently. I cannot explain why that is. I have no idea. They're all very much educated, went to school, graduated high school. A few of them went to college, some of them didn't. I cannot explain why they have different spellings to their names. But as my maiden name is Searles, it's the Surles. I have my dad's brother, his oldest brother, and his kids spell theirs Surls. His youngest brother and his kids spell it Serls. I can't explain that. I don't know why. When we've questioned it before, we weren't given a true answer as to why the spelling was like that. But basically we just told that the family members just didn't know how to spell it, so they came up with their own spelling. So all of Montgomery's, or most, I don't say all of it, most of Montgomery Searles spell it Surles. There are also Searles within Lowndes County, Alabama, who spell it Surles. We have Montgomery County, Lowndes County, and Normal, which is Huntsville. Um, they all spell Surles. We go to the family in North Carolina, which is where most of them derive from, as I understand. They spell it Surls. We go to Chicago. They spell it Serls. I don't really know of too many with the other spellings. We had a reunion back in 2016 where they were trying to describe to us the different spellings and where they derive from. But most of the family that I'm aware of spells it the Surles, Surlsserls. So I can't really say what part of the country spells their names the other ways, but we do know they exist. And they're not all African Americans, clearly. We have different races of all within this family that spells their names like ours or like some of the other 5 spellings.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, let me look at some other questions I had for you. How did wait, let me start over. When you were born, did your father already know that it was other ways to spell, like that it was 6 other ways, or did you find out later on in your child?
I'm gonna say no. He knew of the 3 ways based on him and his brothers. As far as the other 3, I don't think he had. We all learned about it probably around the same time. And that's actually, somebody got in touch with those family members who spell those names that way, and they actually came to the reunion that year. And that's when we all learned about the different spellings of the name. That was the whole focus of the reunion, which was all roads lead to home. Home being the main spelling was the Surles spelling, which is my last name or my maiden name. And they brought spelling. So pretty much all learned at the same time about the other 3 spellings.
Okay. Let's see what else I have. Are you close with any other family members that are like not inside your immediate circle? So like family from Chicago or North Carolina.
Yes, kind of. We talk, but it's not, we don't talk every day, don't talk every month, but I have a relationship with them. It's not just the every 2-year deal when we get together for a family reunion. So yeah, it's mainly the family from Chicago. We actually have a family member who is from Detroit. He's been here for about a month or so. So we pretty much keep in contact with the northern side or the northern family members from Detroit and from Chicago. Basis. We also very close with the Atlanta Searles family. So we keep in contact with them.
Would you ever host a family reunion in your town, and why or why not?
Funny you should ask. Montgomery, when we first started doing the family reunions, Montgomery was one of the first places that we did our family reunion. It was actually the second reunion that see, I do have some notes, hold on. That reunion actually, let's see. I wrote it down. When you told me you needed my help, I wrote it down. I just gotta get my notes out. Okay, so the very first reunion was back in 1982. And it was in Chicago, Illinois. Very small reunion, of course. I don't remember it because I was a very small child. I was a toddler. So I don't really remember much about it. Montgomery hosted its first reunion for the Searles family in 1984.
So it's always been every 2 years?
And his siblings. It's always been every 2 years since
Okay.
it started.
All right.
There again, there are many different reunions for Searles. So I can only speak to our immediate circle. When I say circle, I mean the Montgomery, Bullock County family. The Lowndes County, as close as we are to Lowndes County, we don't have reunions together. Again, this Chicago reunion, where spellings of the name, is when we learned of the Searles in Lowndes County. We had no knowledge of who they were. So they were doing their own thing. They had their own reunions. We had our own reunions. Our reunions, again, has always been every 2 years. So Montgomery did theirs 1984, the very first one. My father and his siblings all put it on. And at that time, it was just like a one-day thing where they did a picnic. As time, a weekend. And so they've traveled every 2 years. It's been to Georgia. It's been to Jacksonville, Florida. It came back to Montgomery in 1990. Then it moved, I mean, it stayed pretty much in the same areas. It went back to Georgia, went back to, it actually went to Columbus, Georgia. Then it went to Atlanta, Georgia. Then it went to Detroit. That was the first time we were able to go to a great distance. Then it went to Indiana. It has not been back to Montgomery because, unfortunately, my generation does not care to host it back here in Montgomery, Alabama. So it's a lot of work. And me personally will not be involved in it. I cannot deal with people and their attitudes. So me personally, I would not be. Do have one of my siblings and my cousin prefers to bring it back to Montgomery. And my comment to them was, that's fine. I'll do what I need to do from the outside, but I would not be totally involved in planning that reunion because I just don't want to do it. One, I don't have the time. Two, I don't want to do it. So we actually had one planned for this year. Of course, due to COVID, it got canceled. That one was supposed to be, they have rescheduled it for 2022, which will again be in Washington because it had to be canceled due to COVID of this year. So we're most interested in traveling different places. And you have a lot of families for the same reason that we don't want to take it on, they don't want to take it on either. Planning a reunion is a lot of work. And you got to have a lot of time and a lot of patience to do.
Okay, so
Did I
what
answer
is,
your question right?
yes. What is a typical reunion like? Well, I know you said when it first started, it was just like a one-day picnic, but can you explain to Ashanti? Because I already kind of know. But like what, the different days, what we doing different days, pretty much.
Okay. Typically now, there again, it's just a weekend. On Friday, they have a lot of family members that's coming into town, depending on where it is. You have a lot of people that's coming in. So that's usually a travel day. It's like a down day. It's not really anything going on. Now, my family, we'll go early so we can spend that quality time as a family. But most of the family gets in on that Friday. And they'll usually do something like a fish fry or some type of, hospitality, something at their house, may have something at a hotel that's being hosted. And basically that's the time that, we get together. We're just a meet and greet type thing. We're picking up our t-shirts and we're getting the events of the next 2 days that's going to take place for the reunion. On that Saturday, how our reunion is we'll get up and you may have some downtime to explore the city that you're in or something like that. We're usually they may want to go to the pool, they may want to go shopping, just whatever they want to do for a few hours. Then we come back together and we usually have a banquet of some sort. and we get together and we're sharing good news and, honoring family members, for weddings, birthdays. If somebody's passed, we're, remembering them. We're having, of course, dinner, and we're just getting together, just have with music, food, it's dancing, just a banquet. Tend to have talent shows, tend to, just do little things. So on that Sunday, of course, a lot of people are traveling back to their hometown. So there's nothing really planned. So the bulk of anything that's going to take place is going to be on that Saturday. Sunday, we'll get up. They'll actually have church service. We have several preachers within our family. So they'll get together and they'll have a church service of some sort. We'll have a family meeting where we plan the events for the next 2 years, who's going to host it. So we know before we leave on Sunday where we're going 2 years later. And that family has to start planning from that day that they learn that they're taking on the reunion up until the next 2 years. So, after that, everybody goes home.
What was the worst family reunion you've attended and why?
I can't say I attended a bad one. And one I didn't go to that I remember, that's when they went to Indiana. And I did not want to go, so I kind of just not went. 18, and I actually talked my parents to not letting me go. And I don't know how I managed that because, again, I was 18 and I was the only child who did not go. But I can't say I've had a bad reunion. They've all been fun, and there's the time that we get to spend with family. So I haven't had a bad one that I can say. There was that year that a cruise for a family reunion, and they may have had 10% of people to go. Nobody was interested in really going on a cruise for a family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
One, it costs too much. Two, everybody doesn't want to be on water. So I didn't attend that one. I would have, but I didn't. So again, I haven't had a bad reunion experience. I just haven't.
Well, if you haven't had a bad one, then what was your favorite?
What was my favorite? Although I was young, Detroit. Detroit was my favorite because they had so much more to do. Again, I was young. I could not go to the casino when all the adults went, but they made it fun for the kids as well as for the adults. There again, we stay in Montgomery, Alabama. There is, for real, for young people to do. Yes, Montgomery is a history state. It's a lot of history. We can go to museums. We can, go look at these different sites. Great. But there's nothing fun for them to do. So, the older people seem to think differently, but come on. You live here in Montgomery. What is there to do? Georgia was fine. It's always something to do in Georgia. Detroit, by far, was my favorite reunion place. I had the most fun, but for some reason, that family would not take it back on. They refuse to take it back on. We've also been trying to get the New York family to take it on, and they won't take it on. I think I have a lot of fun in New York.
Me too. I think so too. If you could pick a place out of the country, we're not being realistic here. But if you could pick a place out of the country to host the reunion, where would it be?
Well, Jamaica is always a good place.
Mhm.
Why? Because I've never been there and I would love to go.
I think she's throwing hints, but it's okay.
Will we ever go out the country? Probably not. I think the closest out of the country we went to was our last reunion. And you remember that,
Mhm.
which was in Georgia.
Mhm.
So I don't see we ever going out of the country, not as a big family unit. You may have individual families, but no, we're not. We still have a lot of elderly people and they're not going to, well, they may surprise you because them elderly people be moving. They be
Yeah,
traveling.
granddad.
So they be the one, yeah, it'd be us young folks that probably would not do it. Some of us, I ain't gonna say all. But I would love to go to Jamaica or Hawaii. Hawaii would be a good place to go.
It's not out the country.
Oh, it's out of my country.
Okay. Ashanti, do you have any questions for her? We're almost finished.
I don't.
You don't. Let me think of something else. Let's see here. Do you have any crazy road trip stories or anything that happened while on the way to the reunion?
Any type of stories?
Like road trip stories, like anything crazy happened while y'all was on the road.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, there's that one time again. My individual family, as you know, we go early. So there's this one year headed to Orange Beach, Florida. I think it was Orange Beach, Florida. And unfortunately, this is before I met your dad and became your wonderful stepmother. We had it's not a good story, but it's a story. We're driving and we had a real bad car accident. I was driving and it was my sister's truck. I had my niece who's now 15. She was she may have been 2, 1 or 2, somewhere in there. She was no more than 2. I don't even think she was, nope, she wasn't 2 yet. But my sister was riding in the back seat with her. Her husband at the time was sitting in the front with me. I was driving. It was raining real bad. Hydroplanes. And I controlled it as much as I could. Ultimately, we flipped. And the truck ended up upside down in the median. So, of course, we were trailing my father and my mother and my younger sister and her daughter. They were in a car ahead of us. So, of course, when my sister turns around, I understand she starts to hollering. And my dad had to pull over, of course. And he's running through, it's a 4-way highway. And he's running through 4 lanes of traffic to get to us. Again, it is stormy. And like I said, the truck never flipped back over. So we're hanging upside down. Of course, the main thing, we're trying to get the baby out. And everybody got out. And unfortunately, I'm still stuck in there. So I can't get it out. Now I get they was trying to get the baby out, but y'all still got a person in here. And of course, I'm thinking this truck, and yeah, I'm trying to make light of it because now I can do that. At the time, no, I was petrified. I was scared. Did not know what was going to happen. Did not know if the truck was going to blow up. Didn't know nothing. They got my my sister and my niece out. She luckily the whole time was still strapped in her car seat. So like I say, everybody they got out, and I'm sitting here, screaming, "Somebody get me out, get me out." They finally came and they cut my seatbelt. And of course, by me being upside down, I hit the floor. Whatever, I fell down. I get out. By the grace of God, nobody broke anything. Nothing was hurt. We were very sore the next day, of course, but everybody walked away with no problem. Finally, the police, paramedics, and everybody. The truck still flipped over, and they just looked at us and said, "That's a miracle that all of you are able to walk away from this." So we was like, "Well, yeah." So of course, I'm all nervous. I'm beating myself up because I'm driving, thinking it's my fault. My sister, because she starts hollering, "My truck, what I'm gonna do?" Well, I can't replace your truck. I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm sorry. It ain't like I tried to have an accident. So, but needless to say, we went nearest rental car place, got another rental truck, proceeded to where we were going, enjoyed the rest of our vacation, and worried about the rest of when we came back. So that was the most memorable reunion trip for me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, by the time we got there, everybody, all the family had heard about it, and it was, praying and glad we was okay. And we was like, we're nobody had any bruises, any broken bones. Everybody was safe. Everybody was fine. Shooken up, but we were okay. So, did I ever tell you that story?
No, but the point of the project is for me to learn something.
Well, you learned something then, didn't you?
Yes. Do you know the name of like the slave owner or like the matriarch of the family?
I do.
Okay, what's his name?
I do. I actually have this little booklet that they actually gave us, and it gives some of the history. Now, the very big book that they have that lists everything and everybody from when this to up until current day, I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a smaller book where it tells us the history of the slave owners, the Searles family.
But can
So
you read that?
if we have some time, I can actually.
Yeah, we got about 3
Okay.
to go.
Just 3?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay, so here is the history with the slave owners or slave owner. I'm going to read it as it is printed. It has been documented that the white plantation owner was named William Bright Searles, also spelled ARLES, who lived in Carver Creek Township, Cumberland County, North Carolina. During the colonial period, the slave owner and family settled in the coastal plain of North Carolina, principally in what became Lenoir County. 2 men of the family, William and Robert, were soldiers during the American Revolution. Robert Searles married Elizabeth Boucher, a daughter of the Revolutionary War soldier from Rhode Island named Consider, that's his name, Consider Boucher. This couple had 12 children. 7 sons and 5 daughters. The sons' names were Darrell, Robert Dorsey, Louis Magger, James Consider, William Bright, Samuel Rouse, and Calvin Boucher. The Hespian, somebody named Anne, Patience, Nancy, Jan, and Elizabeth Catherine. Sometime between the years 1810 and 1820, Robert Searles left Lenoir County and moved to Northern Cumberland County, North Carolina. So if you remember me going back to the beginning when I said the bulk of the family was from North Carolina.
Mhm.
Sweater joined Southern Harnett County. The Searles family land laid in both Harnett and Cumberland counties. Their plantations were moderate-sized farms from 500 to 900 acres, usually about 1/3 cleared land and 2/3 woodland, on which they produced corn, pork, turpentine, tar, and lumber. They were not the great cotton or tobacco plantations so many people visualize when they think of the antebellum South. Got that? Yeah, correct. Trying to see, is all this actually worth talking about? Because it goes into some other stuff. About the year 1829, a Searles Kingsman in Lenoir County died, leaving these slaves to the children of Robert Searles of Cumberland County. By this time, 6 of his children were adults and 5 of them were still minors. Since the records of Lenoir County were destroyed in a courthouse fire in 1880, the records that would have given the names of these slaves no longer exist. However, from the Cumberland County records, we learned the names that were to be the property of the 5 minors. They were Rebecca and her 3 children, Daniel, Dean, Harry, Louis, Mary, Polydor, Penny, Tempe, and York. One assumes there must have been 12 or more other slaves whose names we do not know. Then in 1846, these same white Searles children became the heirs to another group of slaves when grandfather Consider Boucher slaves to them. Before the Boucher slaves were distributed among the sons and daughters of Robert Searles, 2 slaves had died and another 8 had been born. Corporal Boucher and his daughter Elizabeth owned over 2,000 acres of land, which equates to 5 miles or 4 city blocks. Their property was located in Cumberland, Harnett, and Craven counties. So don't know how much of that you really needed, but that
They explained it pretty well.
slave owners.
And how did y'all find out all of this information?
Somebody did a lot of research.
Mhm.
Somebody, again, that's been the focus since I know 2016, when they, if you recall, the last reunion, they have this big long table that goes around the room and is listing all of the ancestors. So somebody has put in a lot of time, a lot of work to come up with this information. How they actually did it, I can only imagine. I don't really know. It took a lot of how it got started. I can tell you with my grandmother, who you have not had the privilege to meet because of course she's deceased. Her and her siblings and their cousins got together and they contributed a lot of the information and pointed the individuals who were working it in the direction to go find what they were lacking.
All right, I think that sums up our interview. You did a great job.
Hallelujah.
Work for the news or something.
Oh, no, ma'am. I tried to talk slow just for you.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording now.